Season 1 champion. My name is Frodan. I am joined once again by TJ and Raynad all the way through, as it is time to get ready for the last 3 matches of the day. The first one we have coming up is Chakki versus Zalae. But we recognize that not everyone's been tuning in throughout the broadcast because people have been in and out, and we also recognize it's a Sunday afternoon, so some people are piling from activities. Why don't you recap a little bit of what happened so far here, TJ?
Yeah, of course. In Group A earlier today, we actually saw Savige take on Max, and he went on 3-1, but then ended up losing to Soundstorm 3-2. So both those players been through a lot so far this tournament. And then in Group B, we saw Chakki take on Waifu 3-1, and in the quickest series we've seen so far, Chakki took down Ping Ho, and we actually saw Chakki win on turn 5 with his Hunter in that best-of-5 series.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. And as a result, we set up 2 semifinals. Zalae versus Chakki, and all North American finals versus Darkwonix. Oh, sorry, and Darkwonix versus Silent Storm. And, well, the Taiwanese players are out, but I think they had a great showing in the end. Does the top 4 surprise us at all, Raynad?
No, I mean, if you told me any combination of 4 players from this event were top 4, I'd believe you. They're all really good, and, yeah, I think we'll have some great games.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go into the first match, Chakki versus Zalae, and then we'll have the second semifinal, and then we'll go straight to the finals. Remember that there's more money to be won, of course. Right now, they're guaranteed $2,000 each. Winning this match guarantees you $4,000, but ultimately, being the champion gets you a seed directly to Intel Extreme Masters Katowice happening next March for $30,000. So there's a lot of the BlizzCon World Championship points ready to be distributed out at these tournaments. First player of the series is Chakki, who's coming off a hot streak, and I think momentum's a very real thing that you want to carry over from the previous series.
Yeah, especially since he just had such a dominating performance in that last series. He's riding a lot of confidence as well. Was backstage after the match. He went back there, chugged a couple Snapples real quick, and went back into action here.
That was really quick. Might have taken an IV injection of Snapples if that was the case.
If it was available, Chakki would do it.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I think that Chakki has the best list of Hunter at this tournament. I think it's one of the more different decks, even though Face Hunter doesn't seem that unique at first glance, because that strategy is just so linear and so powerful and people aren't prepared for it. He could easily just sweep off the back of that deck all the way through the tournament. Zalae, on the other hand, this guy has been my favorite. Him and Ping Ho are my 2 favorites winning the tournament. I think Zalae is a great shot. Hasn't lost a match yet. Really convincing victories. He's playing great. And, yeah, I think his mind's in the right place. And as long as he got some sleep, I think his chance is pretty good, too. So I'm expecting some great games, well, you know, for the ones where Hunter isn't involved.
Well, we'll see how the game's in the pan. But before that, we want to get to know Zalae a little bit closer, and we have this piece explaining just that.
My name is Paul Nemeth. My username is Zalae, and I play for Noble Esports. I've transitioned completely from Magic to Hearthstone because I like Hearthstone better. I think it's more fun, got better opportunities. I really like the ability to play from home online, and Hearthstone does a great job of that. It's very accessible, so I'm not splitting my time. I'm just playing Hearthstone these days. Hearthstone is more fun because I get to make more real decisions in every game. When I play Magic, it feels more autopilot. In Hearthstone, I really have to think things through more. Maybe that's because I spent more time playing Magic than I have Hearthstone so far, but I'm really enjoying Hearthstone. I'm not sure what my biggest strength as a player is. I try to be as well-rounded as I can, but I do enjoy experimenting with new things, and sometimes those new things work out. Possibly my favorite deck, the deck that defines me would be Miracle Rogue. I've had some good success with it. I really enjoy playing the deck. Tons of decisions to make. It's good stuff. A lot of fun. The ideal scenario for how everything pans out in this tournament is I crush everybody 3-0, not close, look like a genius playing innovative decks. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I'm gonna do my best to make it happen.
All right, well, Zalae looks like he's crushing the competition so far. Sure, you may have dropped 1 game so far in this tournament, so I guess his ideal scenario hasn't panned out exactly the way he said it, but it's pretty damn close. Only dropping 1 game this entire tournament. If you keep it up in 3-0 Chakki, they'll be sitting pretty going to the finals.
He's lost one Hearthstone game, but as Dan found out the hard way, he has not lost any ping pong matches. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. Let's focus on more positive things like, you know, Cardstone. Let's take a look at the classes lineup. The Mage versus the Hunter start things off. That'll be fireworks right off the bat. Mage versus the Face Hunter, two very aggressive decks. Ooh. We have the Warrior versus the Freeze Mage. One matchup Chakki once again wanted to dodge. And Rogue versus Druid to end the first 3 games. So we're looking at Zalae to be possibly favored in 2 of those matches. What do you think about Mage versus that super aggressive Hunter?
You know, it's not a matchup we see a lot. Not too many people play super aggressive Face Hunter on ladder. So just my guess is whoever has coin has a big advantage, just because if Mage has coin, you can coin hero power.
Right.
And yeah, honestly, I feel like it'll go to blind pick no matter what, just because of that free win that Zalae gets for Warrior versus Mage. But this matchup, I have no idea. I mean, that's a great hand for Mage, that's for sure.
Wow, Mech Warper, Clockwork Gnome, usually great in tandem. He's on the coin, and he also has Mad Scientist and Noisatron, 2 very low-cost minions that are great for tempo.
I'd keep all of it.
Yeah.
Turn 1 Mech Warper Gnome, turn 2 Scientist, and a Noisatron you just want to keep against the Wolf deck with Wolf Riders. So.
Right.
Noisatron is one of the best cards against Face Hunter. Just because sometimes a Noisatron, which is weird, will trade 2 for 1 in this matchup. Which is really weird to think that a Noisatron would trade 2 for 1, but it happens because everything in this deck, or most of the things in this deck, have 1 health.
And the tough decision when playing that card is you really want to save it as long as possible, because if you play it like the turn before they kill you with a charge minion, it's acting kind of like a Loatheb, and it's giving you that extra turn to win the race. Whereas if you play it earlier, like you mentioned, you get a 2 for 1, so that has its own benefit. But it is the only taunt minion in Mage. He has to be pretty careful with when he plays it. Keeping Abusive Sergeant just to guarantee a turn 1 play. Don't see that a lot, but yeah. Owl's actually not bad here. Owl's, most of the time, it's just a fine 2-drop in this matchup. A lot of times they'll coin a Mad Scientist or something like that.
Oh, well, I think the Mech Warper play is going to be great, considering that turn 2, it's not many ways that you can, as a Hunter, take it out without Glaive Zuka.
No, here you hero power, I think. Well, it's close. I mean, they're both good, but hero power is not as bad as it looks there. You essentially play the Warper next turn. The reason he's doing it this way, I think, is to play around Eaglehorn Bow. Because if he were to go for the turn 1 hero power, turn 2 Mech Warper, Clockwork Gnome, then Mech Warper dies to Eaglehorn Bow on curve. But here, just no great Owl target. This is pretty much exactly what you want if you're Zalae. I would have liked to see like Explosive Trap and an attack and a Mech Warper here, but Chakki's going to opt for the more aggressive line of play. Start going face.
Chooses to silence the Mech Warper. It ruins any chance of like a power play on turn 2 where he could play like Snow Chugger and Noisatron or even the Spider Tank.
Yeah, silence ends up being super relevant here. Right now, it's Zalae's deciding is, you know, do I play the Scientist or do I play Snow Chugger and try to get ahead of the Eaglehorn Bow? Can't fault him for either play. They're both pretty strong. I'd like to see Snow Chugger, I think.
I think I agree with Snow Chugger because Mirror Entity's pretty good, but I think that the ability to freeze, and especially the 3 health, I think is a big deal because either it's going to trade favorably into the creatures that he has on the board, or if he uses Eaglehorn Bow, it's going to make it so the charge the next turn is going to be delayed.
Yeah, Noisatron's a great play too. This one issue with playing Snow Chugger is if he does have Eaglehorn Bow, he still gets to kill 2 minions, even if the freeze delays the second attack by a turn.
Oh, having both explosive traps in your hand.
Definitely not too bad here. It's pretty strong, actually, I would say.
Yeah.
One of the only cards that's keeping him in the game, actually. So I think we're just going to see that trap get procced and a Spider Tank follow up.
There's no way to really play around it, huh? Like, Mech Mage doesn't really have the ability to buff
true.
too many things on board without the spare parts.
Yeah, it's actually just like playing Zoo. Like, you have no way to interact with the card, so you have to break it. But the issue with Mech Mage is you're not playing cards like Marubian Egg, Haunted Creeper. There aren't, like, really any death rattles in here aside from Piloted Shredder, so interesting.
Huh.
So this does get punished by Unleash, sort of. If Knife Juggler accompanies it. But, okay, basically by not proccing the explosive trap, Zalae is stopping Chakki from ever playing minions. But that Knife Juggler draw is actually really good because that lets him now draw and Unleash the Hounds to completely blow this play out. So Zalae is kind of taking a risk here, assuming that Chakki doesn't have that 2-card combo on turn 5. But it's pretty unlikely, and it's a fair play to make.
Wow.
Kill command to preemptively get ahead of the damage again, forcing the AoE down. And so it's so interesting considering how so many of these minions are really weak. The only minion that will survive the explosive trap is the Snow Chugger.
Mm-hmm. That's the first time I've seen Chakki target a minion with this deck.
I mean, when desperate times calls for desperate measures.
Yeah.
They don't call him Big Sock Chalk for nothing.
I'm afraid
I hope
to
they
ask.
don't call him that at all.
Well, you said it right before. You can't really interact with these cards, so eventually, outside of like a time rewinder, these cards will die. So you might as well just get ahead of it. And
He's just going to bite the pillow. There we go. Mad Scientist, Snow Chugger. That's going to be the play here for sure. Snow Chugger locking out Glaive Zuka, Eaglehorn Bow. It's a lot of free damage that Chakki needs to win the game. So it's important to develop that as soon as possible. It's not usually great to play 2 Scientists either as the mage deck. You usually only play the 1 Secret, just the Mirror Entity. You don't really want like 2 Scientists out at the same time.
Because then it doesn't draw and fish it out. Not to mention that stats aren't even that great compared to Snow Chugger. That extra health is pretty important.
And you already have so many plays, good plays that you can make on early turns that you could end up just clogging your hand with things that you'd want to play even more.
That armor plating is a pretty big deal. It's going to protect his Scientist from the... Yeah.
That's a huffer.
That is a huffer. And the huffer is going to, again, encourage the trade, but the Frostbolt can perhaps be a workaround there.
Yeah, Frostbolt's going to take out one of these minions. That Juggle, actually pretty good for Chakki here. If it didn't hit the Snow Chugger, armor plating could pick off the Knife Juggler for free. Oh, we're definitely going to see the trade into there. I guess you Frostbolt.
Still think, yeah, the Frostbolt because of how much damage the Knife Juggler represents.
All right, Mage is kind of out of resources. This doesn't happen very often. The curve goes kind of high in Mech Mage, so you usually don't run out of threats. He's going to need some... Zalae's going to need some high-impact draws, though, to just not run out of steam at this point.
Well, the Mad Scientist, I mean, you said itself, only explosive traps are usually in this deck. It's rare to see freezing, right? Or anything else with it?
Yeah, you always see the first 2 explosives in the Face Hunter deck, and sometimes 1 freezing, but rarely. So I guess just Worgen explosive hero power is the play.
Yeah. He has to play that explosive because if not, then he's just going to continue to be permanently frozen by the Snow Chugger, and even if he just does draw into an Eaglehorn Bow or Glaive Zuka, which we did see earlier, it's just going to be useless.
Like, you usually don't want to draw your explosive traps as the Hunter, but here it's just so good. Like, it's really the only thing keeping Chakki alive after losing board control so early.
Clogged up his hand, but it ends up working out for him.
Yeah, Chakki held on to his cards. The Worgen Infiltrator is a deliberate play around Goblin Blast Mage, so that way it doesn't get picked off easily by the random spray that happens. And he's trying to figure out if that's what it is, and he knows his opponent has 1 spare part as well.
So what minion do you keep alive here?
I personally like keeping the Snow Chugger alive.
Snow Chugger.
But at the same time, I can recognize how much damage you want to keep generating with the Cogmaster if you feel like racing. But
If you keep the Scientist alive, you might be able to get double Mirror Entity triggers too, which is kind of interesting.
it's also true.
But I guess Mirror Entity on 2/1s isn't that important. Yeah, you're probably right about Snow Chugger.
It feels like because what are you afraid of some of the things that he can get off the top of his deck?
Wow.
Like his weapons, right?
No, he's going to keep the Scientist alive. I think you're right, though. I think Snow Chugger might have been a bit better.
Well, I guess it depends on how the draws pan out.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. He's going to regret his decision now, but...
I mean, we'll see. I mean, the Eaglehorn Bow is a lot of damage, but at the same time, there's going to be 6 repetitive damage coming in from Mage, too.
Yeah, I think the line of thought here is that if Chakki plays minions, then his mirror entities are kind of going to give the mage deck continued pressure.
Right.
Whereas if Chakki only plays weapons, which the Snow Chugger would have been good against, then that's not really going to be enough to win the game on its own.
Right, he needs minions as well as weapons to kind of push out the final bits of damage.
Right, and having that Scientist alive means that the first 2 minions Chakki plays get copied. But yeah, you can kind of ignore Mirror Entity. I mean, you're playing Wolf Riders. Eventually, you draw those and just play minions the turn you kill him.
Ooh.
Can you ignore it, though?
That's
Well,
pretty good.
That is fantastic draw. Because that just sort of puts a wrench in Chakki's plans.
Turn 7 Noirtron.
Because now he has to play creatures in order to get past this Noirtron, unless he draws into another weapon. And that's just going to allow Zalae to just answer whatever he puts out.
I mean, it's exactly how Reynat said at the beginning of the games. A Noyotron does have its use early on, of course, maybe on 2-for-1 against early weak minions. But the late game, it stops the Wolf Riders, it stops the Arcane Golems. And without that damage, like, how is he going to end this game?
It's so interesting to watch a game against 2 decks that are so aggressive. Both players ran out of resources so quickly. They have so little to work with that, you know, you're excited to draw a turn 7 2-drop.
Yeah. You're basically top decking for like half the game towards the end.
I mean, Chakki's going to have 2 turns, effectively, anyways. Now that Mirror Entity's been already committed to the board.
We'll see if he does play a 3rd secret. It's not completely out of the question.
Huh, well, the Snow Chugger, it's okay if his opponent's going to be holding onto the bow, but what essentially it does, it forces Chakki to, one, either deal with the Snow Chugger or has to commit with the weapon attack next turn. And if it's going to be directly toward the Noyotron, it won't be to the face, so not a bad draw at all for Zalae. Although, of course, you'd rather have like a Fireball or something like that to end the game.
Now, so he's going to attack before giving the potential secret.
Right.
And looks like there isn't one.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it.
No.
It felt like it was empty sound.
There's a small cha-ching at the end of the secret when one is pulled
Oh, okay.
that I did not hear with my trained ears.
Unleash the hounds.
Well, that was the best draw Chakki could have gotten, I think, but is it enough?
I think is that an exact lethal? Yeah, because the extra mirror entity, right?
Yeah, it gives you 1 more dog.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Oh, PJ Salt.
He's even got one.
Oh, he's got 1 extra damage.
Does he?
Wow, that's so
He does.
good.
Wow.
That's crazy. What an insane end. That top deck was the exact card he needed to end the game.
Yeah,
And Chakki wraps up game number 1 with an early series lead.
That was a really good game. I like that. Yeah, we weren't sure how that would go. It seemed kind of back and forth, right? I mean, I could see either player winning that matchup.
No, there's a lot of small decisions too. Like in the very beginning of the game, you can remember Chakki just like attacked the face a couple of times when it's like clearly he could have went for a more board control centric play so that his minions get more damage in. But like that's the mileage you have to go from beginning to end as an aggressive player. You have to think about all the damage you put in.
And like Zalae, on the other hand, could have also kept the Snow Chugger alive, which probably would have won him the game. Just
Right, true.
using his spare part in a different minion.
Second mirror entity was useless, pretty much.
I think that's a pretty big deal, actually. That Snow Chugger play might have been what turned it. And at first glance, I thought that having a clunky hand with double explosive trap was going to be a little bit weird, but that was a big key in his victory, like you said earlier. So really interesting stuff.
Pretty wild, and I think Chakki's going to need that because the next 2 matches are not looking that good.
Oh, jeez.
For Chakki. He's got Freeze Mage versus Warrior.
Yeah.
And then the Druid versus Rogue. Still could go Druid's way, but Rogue has been dominant for a reason. Can he keep it up? Well, this match, it's going to take a while, too, because Freeze Mage, even though it's a very, very, very bad match, probably one of the worst in Hearthstone, it's still one of those things where it takes a while to die.
Yeah, to go through the motions.
Yeah.
Well, Zalae's a pretty competent player, and I think that in order for Freeze Mage to win that matchup, some mistakes have to be made from the Warrior side.
And super unlucky. It's like a combination of mistakes plus unlucky.
Yeah. I play a lot of Control Warrior, and whenever I play against Freeze Mage, after the game, I always feel like I need to like wash my hands.
Why?
Or take a little break. Just feel so dirty.
It's not really dirty. It's more like what Freeze Mage brings upon themselves, because they realize how dominant they are in other matchups. Freeze Mage is so good at shutting down aggressive strategies that it's just one of the most polarizing decks out there.
And one of the things that makes this matchup even harder for Chakki is the fact that he kind of removed some of the card draw from his deck. We haven't seen Loot Hoarders yet. This is how he's fitting cards like Cone of Cold into his deck, Anti-Keelbot. He's not really playing as much card draw as some lists do. So, you know, after this Arcane Intellect, if that doesn't chain into a second one, maybe an Acolyte of Pain, he's going to be in a situation where his hand is just burn spells and AoE, and it's not really going to accomplish much against Warrior.
Well, at least he has the coin, so if he can hold on to that as long as possible and convert that into a Fireball with an extra Ice Lamp even included, then I mean it's like a small bump in percentage, and there's a little bit of hope.
It's a small amount of hope. But
yeah, but
it's there.
Anything you could get in this matchup already, like, even if you bump it up by like 5%, that's already like a 50% bump from your win percentage.
Seriously.
Usually.
Every single point of damage matters in this matchup if you're the mage player.
Absolutely. The damage on the armor matters. The first 15 actual life points on Warrior aren't a big deal. So those 2 damage that you're taking from the Scientist doesn't matter much because the first 15 points of life are going to get taken by Extraza most of the time.
He also has Pyroblast and Antonitis, so I mean there is a lot of burn. So then it can come down to the question of maybe he does have the ability to kill his opponent, but does he have enough time? Because a lot of times the Warrior can just drop like Ragnaros, put Mage on a big clock, and then nothing can be done.
And I was actually mistaken a little bit earlier. I thought that Chakki only had 1 Ice Barrier in that deck, but that is 2. We do see both of them in his hand right now.
Yep, I'd like to see an attack here. He really wants to set up this Death Bite plus double Armor Smith. I suppose next turn you're not playing the Death Bite anyway, so you might as well wait on it.
Right. Is it important for you to also go the Armor Up route sometimes? Like, because he had an opportunity to drop the second Armor Smith,
right,
and then Armor Up, and just like keep hitting the Armor Up button every single time you can.
Some people take that approach. I haven't seen Warrior lose either way, so I'm not sure which one's like
superior.
Yeah,
gotcha.
But like here, I'm a fan of the plays he made all 3 turns, and usually I am armoring every turn.
I think you want to make sure that you protect your Armor Smiths to a certain extent, and make sure you have like a piece of removal for Doomsayers before you overextend onto the board with more than 1 Armor Smith. Because if a Doomsayer comes down, it's actually pretty good to actually use that on Armor Smiths, because even with AoE, you're giving them quite a bit of armor, especially with more than 1 on the board. So that way, if they don't have a way to remove it, then they don't have those Armor Smiths for late game. Their options for gaining armor are a little bit slimmer. So you have more of a chance to get in the game. So it's just something they need to do as Warrior, just to increase your odds more. You don't really need it as much, but you never want to fall prey to a Freeze Mage as a Warrior.
Yeah,
ruin your reputation.
He needs to not play Sylvanas here. That would expose him to the Mage playing Doomsayer and then fireballing the Sylvanas to force the Doomsayer proc.
Yeah, I think Sylvanas, that's a great point. Sylvanas is actually one of the biggest ways you can sabotage yourself if you're trying to build a board against Freeze Mage.
I like this Death Bite play quite a bit, though. I mean, even as the Acolyte next turn, if he wants to gain more armor, draw some cards. The only thing that can really go better for Zalae at this point is just drawing into Ragnaros on curve, drawing into Shield Maidens.
Yeah. Even though you sort of want to save the coin, like Frodan said, with that Fireball later on, with the second charge of Death Bite coming out next turn, you just can't afford to give that much armor over to the Warrior player.
Dr. Boom is
That's a great draw.
So painful.
Card's really good against Freeze Mage.
The Trog is annoying too, because it's like how many spells it gets buffed up by. It has to get dealt with as well. I feel like we've seen the Trog like 5 times today.
It's been
I've seen some people put him in a Druid, just like the actual minion.
Yeah.
What's the purpose?
Well, the attack for 2, I think. It's like River Crocolisk without the Beast synergy. I don't know.
To do the 16 other damage needed for the combo.
It has a pretty good attack sound, right? It's Trog No Stupid. Is that, or is that the 4-drop one?
Yeah.
I think the 2/3 just makes a bunch of noise.
Okay, it's like a Murloc pretty much. But
Yeah.
No, I think that was when he gets summoned when he says that.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Trog no stupid.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of damage, but...
I mean...
Is there a way to make Mage overdraw here? Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 plus 3 cards would be 10. Yeah. I mean, do you want... Is making him overdraw that big of a deal, though?
Well, if you burn Antonidas or Alex, they lose the game on the spot. If
That's
you
true.
remove a burn spell, they probably lose the game on the spot. I don't like Frostbolt or Ice Lance are the important ones to burn. Fireballs you have theoretically infinite of.
True. If you make him burn a second Acolyte, though,
Yeah.
not a big deal.
There's so many core cards in Freeze Mage. Like, every card has a purpose in the deck, so even burning the ones that don't matter quite as much, especially where in this matchup just seems pretty good. And, I mean, what is he actually sacrificing for making him overdraw? He's just giving him more cards, which could be a problem.
I mean, he's getting the Blood Mage draw anyway. He's getting at least one Acolyte draw anyway. I would do it.
Well, I mean, one of these bombs might hit it, but...
Yeah, he's banking on, well, either drawing that or having his Boombot hit the Acolyte.
You can also cool Taskmaster. 4 damage, so it will be overdrawing. 4 damage? That was an 8 damage Boombot.
What do we burn? Nova.
Frost Nova.
It was one card away from actually burning Alexstrasza, so that could have been bad. Frost Nova, not so much. Still a good card, but he's got other ways to freeze.
Yeah, not the worst thing in the world, considering that he has Freeze and Doomsayer. But the Doomsayer will get dealt with. And the question becomes, can he survive long enough? I mean, he might just die next turn. Or not die, but get his Ice Block popped.
Yeah, a lot of decisions here for Chakki. I mean, he's got a lot of mana to work with, 10 cards. There's a couple ways you can try to handle this. Fireballing the Dr. Boom does take most of the damage off the table. That might be the way to go. Tough to really say.
Yeah. Fireballing, though, what's your follow-up play? You can't Arcane Intellect. I mean, this is the turn 2 Doomsayer if there was one, right? Because it sets up for turn 9 Alex. But there's so many ways Warrior can deal with it easily. Because they can Shield Slam it, they can execute it.
Alright, well, he's got his 2 most important cards, the Antonidas and the Alex. Trog's growing a little bit. I would have liked to see, like, double Doomsayer Fireball, I think, but maybe he will go double Doomsayer with the Ice Lance.
Oh, man.
Well, they are both going to die, but it does still soak up a good amount of damage.
I mean, do you care about dying, or is it just popping the Ice Block?
That's a good question. I mean, you pop the Ice Block, everything dies, then he plays Alexstrasza on himself. Is that a situation you want to be in?
You have Execute to follow it up.
Yeah.
And
Or
a big,
BGH.
oh, actually a big game winner.
Yeah, BGH. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter too much at this stage. Well, for Antonidas, you'd want to save the execute for, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the Doomsayers are gone, and so is the Ice Block.
Well, he gets the second one, but, I mean, how much is it actually going to do? He gives himself another turn to draw into stuff, but if he plays Ice Block this turn, then, and, like, Antique Healbot.
I think he would Alexstrasza himself.
Alexstrasza first. But if you
Because you're out of
Alexstrasza-
range of Gromosh, unless he has cool Taskmaster.
What to do?
Yeah, which he does. I mean, Gromosh top deck is lethal for Zalae.
Right.
If Chakki goes for that Alexstrasza play right now.
I feel like you kind of have to take the risk, though.
But using Alexstrasza is basically just saying that I'm not going to win, but at least I'm going to live for a little while longer.
The Antique Healbot plus the Ice Block, because I feel like the next turn, well, first of all, you're going to have to eventually get Alexstrasza out. You're going to eventually have to get Antonidas out, because the next turn would be Antonidas plus the Ice Block. Alright, well, Fireball, we get one of that out of the way. Also makes sense. So he's taking a gamble that Gromosh won't be the next card.
Frothing Berserker. Oh,
There it is.
Card's pretty decent against Mage, honestly. I mean, it is a minion which they can interact with, but it does just give you some early pressure if you play it on curve. This late in the game, it's not as good, but still fine.
He did miss out on an opportunity to make a larger Oh, no, not
Okay,
necessarily.
so
It's the first charge of.
a lot of information given. Doesn't have Gromosh. Blizzard. Guess he wishes that was a Frost Nova.
Yeah, burning even the...
The Frost Nova was a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. Mage really needs all of its cards to win this matchup.
What to do? What to do?
The thing is, now it's like he doesn't have a. He still has to have his Ice Lance. He needs to get his his Frostbolt rather, so that way the Antonius actually has value. But for now, he's just playing stall.
I think the only way he can win is if he
Shield
can't
Maiden.
pop the block this turn, and even then it's going to be grim.
I mean, Zalae actually hasn't even drawn into like his shield blocks and his other shield maidens yet,
Yeah.
or his like Ragnaros. Like he's actually not drawing terribly well, relatively speaking.
Yeah, this matchup like very rarely comes down to, you know, does the mage just run out of damage? It's more like, can the mage even stabilize against the warrior's pressure? Because they have
Right.
so many proactive threats now, especially with Zalae's list with piloted shredders and frothing berserkers. If Ragnaros comes down, you're under a ton of pressure. It's just like you have to stop the onslaught and then you have to find the damage after the fact. And a lot of times it's tough to just not die in the first place.
What to do? What to do?
Man, 3-mana Cone of Cold back in the day before the nerf. So much better with Antonius.
About 2 mana Frost Nova.
That wasn't bad either. To go with the 8-mana Pyroblast.
Didn't Blizzard used to be cheaper too?
Oh yeah, all the fun cards.
5 mana. Frostbolt used to be 3 mana as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But then they changed that to 2 mana.
I think they buffed Sorcerer's Apprentice too. Those were like the 2 changes. Well, Chakki's going through all of his options, none of them great. Looks like Blizzard's what he's going to go with. Could use Ice Lance to take out Shield Maiden and at least get a clear board, but doing that would get rid of his last 1 mana spell for Antonius.
Wow, that hurts.
It does. I mean, you need that burn, but ideally the Antonius will be getting more ammo, so to speak.
Do you just attack here? Just set up the War Axe, guaranteed pop. I think
I think there's no reason not to.
I think you play the War Axe too. That way, if you draw Gromosh, you have lethal.
I have no time for games.
If through an Alexstrasza, yeah.
Empty board is safest time to play Sylvanas.
Yep, already seen both Doomsayers, of course.
Both Doomsayers as well, yeah.
Oh. Does have the second Frost Nova. But that Antonius will get executed. Kind of amazing that Zalae only had 1 piece of removal and 1 big source of life gain. And yet he's still at 18 armor and in pressure. Like, he's still pressuring to win the game here.
I wonder.
It's just so hard to balance finding ways to keep the armor low, deal with the warrior's threats, try and find a time to play Alexstrasza.
Is it still better to Alexstrasza yourself or your opponent?
He can't win if he Alexstrasza's himself. It's unless his Antonius survives for like 3 turns in a row, which is just so unlikely.
He's taking the risk right now with
Yikes.
Antonius. I think we're going to see Taskmaster BGH here over the... Actually, we're going to Taskmaster BGH his own Sylvanas, I think, is the best play. Which is a pretty cheeky play, but it's pretty cool. You get Antonius. Start going off.
Yep, that's pretty cool. I think that'd be really cool, impressive for the sex factor.
There we go.
Yep.
That's what we're all about.
If chat doesn't collectively creatgasm over this, I don't know what will.
Oh, man.
That's pretty much the nail in the coffin right there.
Well, the best is to kill a freeze mage with fireballs, right? Unless Chakki kills himself in Honorable Sudoku. That's going to wrap up game number 2, and the series is tied, but we kind of anticipated this from the very beginning with the lineups matching up. And now we're going to game 3 where the real series has begun.
Yeah, Chakki has actually won every single game that he's played with Freeze Mage. That wasn't against Warrior, and lost every one
So
that
one
was
game.
against Warrior. No, it was
2 games.
3.
No, he lost his freeze mage against Dark Wanyx when he first matched up.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
It's honestly some bad luck getting paired against that class twice, because in this format, it is kind of just random, right? There's only a 1 in 3 chance that that matchup will happen, and that's if you play against someone who has Warrior, which only a couple of the players in the tournament did. So for him to play against the deck twice with Freeze Mage is pretty unlucky, I would say. And yeah, not exactly indicative of how good of a choice it is in this format. I think the deck's like really good in ESL format.
Yeah, you know, in last year's standing, it's almost like a guaranteed thing, because if you win with the Freeze Mage ever, they're going to counterpick with Warrior. So, yeah, I know what you mean. Here we go, Rogue versus Druid. Game number 3, the turning point of the series, heading into the blind pick stage. One person will go with a series advantage.
Yeah, this matchup's about as 50-50 as it gets, and a lot of it's just going to come down to the opening hand of Druid, but a lot of it is going to come down to how proficient of a Rogue player it is. And everyone in this tournament, I'm sure, is pretty experienced with the deck. It's pretty well known at this point. They've had time to practice it. I don't expect to see a lot of mistakes from the Rogue side. So, you know, right off the bat, we just need to pay attention to if Wild Growth is drawn on turn 2. And, yeah, if it is, then we have a game.
And we've seen quite a few Wild Growth starts so far in the tournament. And don't see one yet.
Lotheb's pretty good, but I don't think you can keep it. It's not as good against Rogue as it used to be.
Where it's like an auto keep against Miracle Rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you agree with throwing away preparation against Druid?
I've seen players just keep it no matter what, and honestly, I think that's fine. I think keeping prep is fine. I would even consider keeping Eviscerate, just because of how efficient it is at killing 5 drops.
Yep.
But just mulling aggressively for Violet Teacher and Azure Drake makes a lot of sense as well. Also, 3 drops, you really want to have one of those on time. So I can't fault him for mulling everything here.
Yeah, I think preparation is a pretty good keep for the Druids that get like a really fast start with Innervate play. But Rogues are pretty great at dealing with that stuff early on outside of it. And it just gives you that extra layer of versatility, I think.
Definitely. Even a Sap could do some serious work against a quick Druid of the Claw.
Yeah, Sap used to be like the ultimate counter to the, or Freezing Trap as well, to like the Innervate Yeti or something like that.
Yeah.
Make him waste a couple cards and a lot of tempo.
Well, that hand looks pretty good for Rogue. That Ragnaros, Chakki's decision to include that definitely improves his Rogue matchup. Rogue has a really tough time with Ragnaros.
They're just big minions in general. Without Sap, they don't have an efficient way to remove it other than just casting spells with spell power.
No Wild Growth. This makes it, it doesn't seem like the game is over because it's only turn 2, but this is going to make the entire game a huge uphill battle for Chakki.
He's giving the Rogue the initiative. It does curve out pretty nicely. He's a lot of things to do over the next couple turns with the Shade into Keeper, but like he's pretty much tunneled into those things, and no Innervate as well to open up his flexibility.
I would like to see a Coin SI agent there, as weird as it looks. I just like developing minions against Druid as quickly as possible.
Getting a head start.
Well, it makes sense given if you're able to develop minions and force them into removal. Otherwise, they have to play minions, but you can trade in very easily and utilize your efficient removal as a Rogue. So it's a way for you to get really far ahead and snowball the board.
Yeah, Violet Teacher here is a much better play than just throwing down Earthen Ring. Definitely want to develop that as soon as possible.
Yeah, there's just no inherent value behind putting down that Farseer. It's really nothing.
You definitely have to make this Keeper play here. You just can't let Violet Teacher live, especially with Ragnaros in hand. Every one of those little apprentices is going to be pretty annoying if they can't be dealt with Swipe. Well, I'd like to see Deadly Poison SI, I think. You really want to play Violet Teacher, but it just doesn't deal with the Keeper of the Grove, so...
You use the weapon charge too over the backstab because Azure Drake, you have spell power there. You also have the availability of Violet Teacher in case you need to do that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Backstab Azure Drake is just so powerful on turn 5.
Yeah, actually you would kill off the Druid of the Claw. Anything that has 6 health that can be targeted, you have free reign to do it.
This is really aggressive. Alright, just wants to get Teacher down as soon as possible. Recognizes the fact that, you know, if he doesn't play it here, it might just be stuck in Zalae's hand for a long time.
This is tough. You don't want to leave that Violet Teacher up, but I mean, he does have swipes to deal with like the tokens.
Right. Well, he has swipes, but he also doesn't have a play for next turn. So if he puts it out this Druid of the Claw, next turn he has the swipe and the hero power. But then it's like, how much damage can this rogue actually do? You know, it's will he regret it? I still think following the curve here seems to be the natural guideline that he should follow.
Yeah, even if the rogue like efficiently removes the Druid of the Claw, like it's super clean. You said the swipe hero power on the Violet Teacher next turn is a super clean way to clean it, as long as he clear it, as long as he doesn't like develop anything else.
This is so good. You can Drake prep Eviscerate and just take out the Druid of the Claw, which might be the way to go. There's a couple clean ways to do this.
Yeah, you also have backstab for a clear as well, or even adding another 1/1. The key is that how you have to make sure not to overextend into swipe, because if you go too far, then like say you swipe Wrath, and then you lose everything.
He opts to hold on to the Azure Drake here. I guess the playing around swipe is...
It's going to heal his minion.
Yep.
Alright, so we left with a 3-2 after the swipe. It's still something, so that's nice.
Yeah, this way he clears the board, so he's hedging his bets.
Playing Azure Drake turn 6 is always a bit rough. Feel like you're wasting mana, but not the end of the game. You know, Dr. Boom into Ragnaros, that's just two of the better cards against Rogue as well, so the Druid's not out of it, but the fact that Rogue got to develop a minion means that it's very possible Zalae just snowballs from here. Kills something, hits for 3, kills something, hits for 3. You know, eventually you develop a second minion and the game's just over out of nowhere with the oil.
That's assuming the boom bots don't have massive impact, though.
There's, I mean, Chakki's still at 29 health, and even if Zalae manages to clear everything, he's probably going to have to take some damage in the process, and there's already one piece of the combo in Chakki's hand. So it's, and Innervate as well, so there's some opportunities for him to burst down as long as just one of those big threats that he's going to put out in the next couple turns is able to stick.
Well, swipe does deal with the board, but is that as good as Dr. Boom, and is that as good as Ragnaros? Innervate Ragnaros is fine here as well. You actually have like 3 pretty solid outcomes. Oh man.
That is a lot of damage.
Oh yes, it is.
7 plus 4, 6, 8, 15.
There's no Blade Flurry yet.
18 damage. That's nuts.
Yeah.
You put him on. You basically put yourself on the next turn to win at that stage.
Can you
drop
die
Blade
to
Flurry.
a Savage Roar plus a Druid of the Claw? Well, there's only 8 mana available. We know that Chakki has Innervate, but Zalae wouldn't account for it.
Right. So if there was Druid of Claw Savage Roar, there'd be 13 plus 8, no, plus 10. That'd be 23 damage. No, he would need an Innervate or a little bit something else. That's really close math, though.
Yeah. In this case, I think I would just go for it. It seems like you're not going to deal with Dr. Boom. You just go face. Yeah, I like this play.
Wow. The best feeling in the world is a weapon attack and rocks the board.
Yes, it is. Now,
I mean,
what can he draw?
Savage Roar or Force of Nature ends the game right here, right now. Now he still has the Sludge Belcher, which allows him to stay alive.
Yeah, no sap yet in the Rogue's hand.
These boombots could do some work as well.
So I guess you'd play the Sludge Belcher and innervate the swipe, and then attack the Farseer. So that way you can get some damage in. And you push out a pretty significant amount.
Yeah.
Feels like the best use of Innervate too, because I mean, how else are you going to squeeze an Innervate other than an extra point of damage?
Still keeping a one boombot alive as well for the following turn for an extra Savage Roar token.
Yeah.
Zalae's looking to draw a sap or a Blade Flurry to end the game here. He's got a lot of draws though.
Yeah, that he's got 2 Blade Flurries and 2 saps this deck, I believe, so quite a few outs.
See how these boom bots, or this one boom bot rather, does. If it does pretty good damage, that might be the push that Chakki needs for the following turn.
Either way, I think it's draw lethal or lose at this point.
Sure.
There's a lot of damage staring back right at him.
Sapper Blade
What's it going to
Flurry.
be? I don't think there's a way out.
Wow, that's it. The backstab was an empty draw.
Well, let's see, go to 11. Yeah, there is no way out.
I mean, he could try, but he's got to know that there's some damage sitting on the other side of that one. Looks like the risk is not going to pay off. I mean, I think it was pretty good odds for him to go for that weapon. There was a couple outs for him. If he didn't have a taunt, if he drew into sap, if he did have a taunt, drew into sap, if he drew into Blade Flurry the following turn, there's a lot of ways for him to win from that line of play by going for that just straight weapon, all damage to the face.
Yeah, there wasn't exactly a way to deal with the Dr. Boom. I think it was the only realistic option available to him. But yeah, doesn't seem like it panned out this time. A backstab draw, definitely not what he wanted. Even just, yeah, I mean, even an Eviscerate, I think, would let him stay alive, for example.
Right. This rate, as I said, is only 6 damage. Pretty wild. I think Zalae realizes that the writing's on the wall. There's only one thing left to do. Show that sludge belcher who's boss.
Actually, he's going to pass it off.
Actually, he doesn't know if he's dead yet, for sure.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, he knows he can't beat Savage Roar by killing the Belcher, so the better play is to just assume your opponent doesn't have Savage Roar.
Yeah.
Look at that. Nice board clear they had the game. So that wraps up game 3. Chakki goes into game 4 with the series lead. And the blind pick stages is 1 game away from advancing to the grand finals of season 1.
Yeah, it's definitely an impressive win. The swipes just pulled a lot of weight. You know, without Wild Growth, it's normally a matchup you see Rogue winning, but Chakki definitely pulled it out there. I think the turning point is turn 4, where Zalae decided to play the most expensive minion he could. Like you said, it's his play style. And I don't think it was quite as good of an option as the SI7 agent in that spot, but yeah, congrats to Chakki. I guess it's time for blind pick.
Yeah. Data and I were actually talking at the beginning of the Legendary Series when Zalae first appeared, and we were saying that Zalae has a weird way of winning. The games that he won, we were kind of wondering along the way, like what his decision-making was like. And we had him on the couch yesterday, and he was speaking about it. And like he has the mentality of play the biggest creature first.
Yeah, it's a very like Magic player mentality.
Yeah, mana efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Because as soon as, in that game, a lot of the times you just play the most powerful thing you can every turn. You kind of build your deck to do that every single game. And, you know, a deck like Druid, for example, is super intuitive for Magic players to take on.
Whoa. And I think Chakki got the bad end of this matchup.
Well, you say that, but if no Armor Smith is drawn, it's very possible for Warrior to get wrecked.
That's true.
Warrior finds a way.
It's true. Like, it's not really playing Whirlwind anymore. It's not playing Cleave. You don't gain a lot from Fiery War axing Leper Gnomes. So Taskmaster and Armor Smith are going to be the most important opening hand cards here for the Warrior. And if Zalae doesn't see them, Chakki could easily just have another, turn 6 win.
Well, if you look at the lineup, I think Chakki Hunter was one of his better choices because it's, especially his Hunter, because it's good against Mech Mage. It's good against Rogue as well, especially the Face Hunter. And it's also his most comfortable deck, and the deck that I know that he leans towards the most. We talked earlier about the styles of these players when they get into the blind pick phase, if they just try and go with the deck they think is going to give them the best chance or the deck that they're just most comfortable with.
Yeah, for Zalae here, the only question is, do I keep this Frothing Berserker? The other two you definitely put back. And I think you do.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot you're going to be doing turn 3 otherwise, and yeah, seems like a fine keep. Nice to put some pressure on the Hunter, too. Lots of things are going to be trading off. Lots of damage is going to be exchanged. It survives Explosive Trap.
It's one of those things where maybe the Hunter feels obligated to trade into it, right? Just because of how much it can do back at the Hunter. In the meantime, the Animal Companion on turn 3 can be pretty crucial, especially if it's a Huffer that ends up pushing out damage. or when it's a Huffer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Very great.
Corrected myself.
Very good card against a Warrior. A lot of times the only efficient way to deal with it is with like a Despite, so even in that case, you're getting some damage out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like the best draw Chakki could have had. Maybe Mad Scientist was slightly better, but Haunted Creeper really tough to deal with for Warrior.
I find myself a lot of times in the Hunter matchup on like turn 3, if I'm dealing with a Huffer, having to like just armor up Shield Slam just to be able to remove it and not take too much damage, which is just completely just stopping your momentum.
And that's one of the best exchanges you can do with it too.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you have the drain life, but it's like if you don't, it's yeah. Well, I think it's gonna be a pretty straightforward Haunted Creeper. This is a Warrior matchup. I mean, Chakki's gonna take his time, maybe convince Zalae that he has options here in terms of 2-drops. I was deciding whether to attack or not. Decides not to walk into the Taskmaster. Definitely an interesting play. Makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, the concept is it wants to do the 2 damage anyways. So as long as his opponent just isn't straight up Whirlwind and he doesn't see the Death Spite yet, then the damage delayed doesn't really matter if it's now or later.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't want to give Zalae a clean opportunity to develop that 2-2. I think we're going to see a coin frothing Berserker here because the Acolyte of Pain can't really deal with the front half of Haunted Creeper, and you can't exactly let Haunted Creeper turn into a Pyroblast over the course of a game. You have to deal with it eventually.
He's got to be alive for a very long time to turn into a Pyroblast.
Yeah.
But I guess it happens a lot of time. Some people just ignore it and just say, oh, well, I'll deal with it later. And you never end up getting to it.
All right, well, companion time.
Wow. Was there any ever doubt?
That's a really ridiculous percentage of Huffers that we've gotten over the course of this tournament.
I don't think, I mean, it's kind of about average.
Yeah.
Really?
Have you played Ladder? You know how many times I die to that card, man? Every game. It's always Huffer.
Every single game.
The amount of times I've had to Fiery War Axe it.
Yeah.
I just feel sad about life.
8 damage for 3 mana.
What now?
I think we've only seen one non-Huffer so far. Saw Leok 1 game.
Saw a couple Mishas.
Oh, did we? Okay. I may not have been casting those ones.
They weren't Chakki games, though.
Yeah. Chakki's like a Huffer magnet.
Well,
That's
I'm
all
a
he ever
fan.
wanted.
Do you think Acolyte or Taskmaster here? Taskmaster does save a bit of life. Definitely has some value. Acolyte's the better play momentum-wise, but it doesn't conserve as much life. In the long run, it might be better, though, to drop Acolyte.
Yeah, I think your hand is okay curve-wise, but in the end, it's like, don't you also want to start drawing into other ways where you can gain options, shield block, and shield maiden? So that way you can stay alive longer. Armor Smith, even.
Alright, well, it's 5 damage this turn, so...
Whoa!
Well, luckily we have Blizzard developers in the building. We'll alert them to the bug.
That's right.
Guess
They'll
that's
fix that right after the I attacked the face in my gold how it broke bug.
Right.
Bisha can become problematic too. I mean, it's still damage that you have to deal with, and has to take the 4 damage from the Despite, but it's going to be pretty good since Haunted Creeper was played first.
Oh man, there's so much damage still.
Yeah,
You can target that
Zalae,
next turn.
he just desperately needs like a shield block, a shield maiden, something with the
Armor
word shield
Smith.
in it. Yeah.
There's so many cards that try to stop you from dying, and he doesn't have any of them.
Yeah. His plays over the next turns are basically just to like play a medium-sized creature.
How
Paladin
important is
Shard
it
will
to
have
keep hero powering here right now, as opposed to like trying to play out your cards?
Pretty much every turn now, Chakki's going to want to do that at this point. It's going to be very easy for him to just unload his entire hand in one turn, so you want to just make up for the lack of card draw by using the hero power every turn. So whatever play Chakki decides to go with this turn, he is going to limit himself to 3 mana. Wolf Rider just dies to the Despite, so it's not very appealing. Explosive Trap doesn't do much of anything, so this is kind of a hedging play. This is fine. Basically, this is going to force Zalae to attack the Haunted Creeper. Since Deathspite came down second, its Death Rattle is going to happen after the Haunted Creeper, so it will clear the board, but...
Yeah, this way at least a Taskmaster doesn't survive.
There's one more point of damage he doesn't want to be taking, though. And Gorehowl is not what you want to see here.
Oh, wait.
I think you just play Acolyte, because you need to be armoring up. Both players need to be hero powering at this point.
Yep.
Right. Cancel it out.
It'll also develop an answer for Wolf Rider that's just kind of sitting in play, which is really important right now.
Yeah, that's it. You're just trying to block as much as possible. And if you really think about it, Acolyte of Pain is probably just as efficient as dealing with threats as, like, say, a Lotheb, because everything that's going to come out is
It's an important card.
Very important.
There we go. That's the kind of card that just wins the game. Shield Maiden is just huge in this matchup. Zalae's managed to get to a point where he's not just dead by turn 6. And now, Chakki's in this awkward spot where I guess he just has to keep hero powering and just play Knife Juggler. No,
Yeah, I think dropping the Jugglers is his best bet.
just hold off on Wolf Rider.
Wolfire still is really vulnerable. You're going to want it to just be a nuke. It's kind of like the one charge of a Nigorn bow, effectively.
Because it could also end up giving Zalae a card as well. If the juggle hits the... I guess if he was going to play, he would have played it first, but...
Zalae's hand's pretty terrible. Like, Shield Maiden's important, but he has no way to deal with Knife Juggler.
That's a good point.
So do you suicide the Acolyte to look for something? Do you leave it in play so you have an answer for a 2-1?
Well, there's still Explosive Trap here.
He's going to opt to proc the Explosive Trap
Before the weapon comes out. Armor Smith.
Too little, too late. You need that early to punish Haunted Creeper and Leper Gnomes.
Well, you still have Shield Maiden, which is a reasonable play. Considering that you would go up to 15, and then you can put out Armor Smith next turn.
Right now, what Zalae is thinking is that there's no one card that kills him, so he's thinking of 2-card combinations and how likely they are. Because if he can survive a 2-card, like most 2-card combinations, he would have preferred to play like a Shredder and an Armor Smith. Just get that down before the Shield Maiden. Besides, there's just a few too many cards that wreck him.
Juggles to the fate, or to the Shield Maiden.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he wanted.
I mean, it also is a point where Shield Maiden would trade in and also sacrifice itself.
That's true.
Oh, that's a huge draw.
Yeah, that's really big. Still damage though, because the Leper Gnome does 2 extra off the Death Rattle. So
this is definitely going to be an Armor Smith Taskmaster turn. There's absolutely nothing else here that makes sense.
and you armor up as well.
Yep, you armor up every turn. Can't afford not to.
Yeah, you need to negate his hero power every single turn.
Have we seen Alexstrasza from Zalae? When I was trying these kind of early board control warrior lists with Frothing Berserker and Piloted Shredder, a lot of times you get in so much early damage that I found Alexstrasza was kind of underwhelming. So maybe he doesn't even play it.
Huh.
Explosive Trap could end up working against him.
Right, so if he ends up running Leper Gnome into Armor Smith and playing Explosive Trap, what ends up happening is Zalae just won't attack ever. And just kind of sit there armoring all game. So see if that's the line of play he goes with. I think Chakki recognizes that, and we're likely to see him go face. Okay, it's actually 100% chance we're going to see him go face. There's like no way he trades into the 2-2, doesn't do anything.
The problem is if Armor Smith stops attacking, it doesn't lose its effectiveness. You still have Whirlwind effects, you still have minions they can put on the board, and then what happens is if they finally choose to attack, they gain so much more life in the process.
Yeah.
Because there's 5-6 minions on there.
Yeah. You could end up gaining more health than the Explosive Trap would do in the first place, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been his worst possible draw then. I guess he's just not going to play it at all.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Well, Zalae picks up Execute. Not really useful here. But maybe this is an opportunity for him to start slowly climbing back, especially if he has an opportunity to shut down spells, you know, with, Lotheb.
Yeah. Dr. Boom is quite a bit of a liability here because of the possibility of Unleash.
Also very true.
Kill Command Beast would kill him, so he might want to play Lotheb because of that reason.
Right.
I wouldn't fault him for dropping a Sylvanas either, just to still have Lotheb's effect available to him later.
If he feels like he can live one more turn.
Well, would one more turn win him the game? It would if he drew a shield block, so I suppose playing Lotheb this turn is fine. if he's assuming that Chakki's holding on to like a beast or a kill command.
I mean, there's not many cards that you'd want to hold on as the aggressive hunter at this stage, right? Mana doesn't really matter, so Arcane Golem is perfectly fine.
I have no time for games.
7 health. I mean, it's risky, because if it was a kill command plus the beast, that would be game.
He is going to go with the expensive drop, though. Pretty consistent of him to go with that line of play. Ooh.
Got 5 damage right now.
That Unleash is a great draw, even though it doesn't seem great right now, because it's going to allow kill command to win him the game now.
Right.
Yeah, but Lotheb is almost certainly
Going to come down.
going to come down this following turn. And that would lock him out.
Well, it would
just
lock
about
him
everything.
out. It would lock him out of. It would lock him out of playing just like Unleash and the kill command combination. But if he plays Lotheb and another thing, second Armor Smith.
That's actually irrelevant right now.
Yeah.
So
If he plays Lotheb and second Armor Smith, does he die? Because just Unleash the Hound's hero power is enough to kill him.
Yeah. He needs to armor up this turn.
Zalae's going to be doing the math on that.
He has to expect it. I mean, we haven't seen an Unleash this game yet.
Right. So the
far as I
correct
remember.
play is to Lotheb and then just armor up without playing the second Armor Smith.
Unless he wants to play no minions this turn, like maybe drop a Gore Howl, there's actually no play that stops him from dying to Glaive Zuka Unleash.
Oh, wow.
Let none
That's also
survive.
true.
So Chakki needs exactly Glaive Zuka to win this game, I think.
Now, on the other hand, and it all comes down to this because he also has Gorehowl in his hand, which would give him lethal onto Chakki next turn.
Does that do it? That's it?
No.
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 Mana.
He's... Wow.
Oh, but yeah, the Gore Howl is allow him to
1
to do it.
damage
That's it.
or 1 mana.
Zalae's going to just barely tie up the series here with this Gore Howl next turn. I don't see a way for Chakki to stop it.
He can if he Arcane Golems and then Explosive Trap, right? If he like Arcane Golems into a minion, then he just like basically gives up his way to win.
Yeah, then he's just going to give Zalae just so much armor, and it's going to be really tough for him to get through all that.
You're right, Frodan. That's like the one way he doesn't die next turn. But yeah, like Osmo said, he'd play a second Armor Smith and
Right.
the game would just end.
Well, if he Arcane Golems the Armor Smith and plays the Explosive Trap,
That's a good point. That would
make it so it would kill the Cruel Taskmaster. He would leave with 10 damage on board. Wouldn't give him an opportunity to gain armor. And it would still put him at a Gorehowl range. But, I mean, how much is he playing around Gorehowl? How likely is it that he's going to see that that's probably his best line of play?
That's actually the best play. That would actually still give him a chance to draw Kill Command. All right, so now the game's over.
Yeah.
This is the play I would have made as well.
It's just really hard read to make it. And Rag as well.
Well, how else best to do it than to use Ragnaros off the top and pretend like you top deck the answer. So Zalae evens up the series and sends it to game number 5.
And a fitting way for our first semifinal as well to go to this game number 5. And how is this going to play into their choices? Because it's a lot of mind games that goes into this fifth pick. They have to read what their opponent's going to play. Is Chakki going to go with Face Hunter again? Maybe thinking that Zalae is going to go with the Warrior. It's a tough choice.
Yeah, does he shift to Druid instead as a way to catch the Warrior? Does Zalae anticipate that? Switch to something else instead?
It's definitely a very close matchup, even if it is Warrior against Face Hunter again. People think that Warrior counters Face Hunter, but we saw like Chakki's pretty close to winning there.
Super close.
If that Explosive Trap draw, the second one, it wasn't as, like, if he didn't draw it that turn, basically. If that Arcane Golem was 1 card earlier, if the Unleash was 1 card earlier, that could have been a completely different game, so. But yeah, both players had a pretty reasonable draw, so.
It was pretty intense and tight down all the way to the road, but here we go, game number 5 between Chakki and Zalae. I'm looking towards Chakki to be the one who makes the move here, unless he's really comfortable here playing just Face Hunter because he feels like it's his go-to, right, to comfort. That's something that Chakki is known to do, just to go and be aggressive. So if we repeat the same exact matchup, that wouldn't surprise me.
And that's what it's going to be, Warrior versus Hunter. And I mean, it says it on Chakki's info plate that he just loves to play that Hunter. And he just loves to take that cursor and pointed at the face.
Yeah, if Chakki did go ahead and pick Druid there, then that would have been nearly unwinnable for the Warrior on the other hand. So definitely a chance for Chakki there to kind of switch it up and just blow Zalae out in terms of matchups. But both players are going to stick with their choices, so that makes sense too.
Here we go, one more time. Hunter versus Warrior. The winner gets a spot in the grand finals of Season 1 finals, the Hearthstone Legendary Series. And this time around, Zalae, he's going to be the one going first.
And those are pretty much all auto throwaways for Zalae.
Yeah, you can make a bit of a case for Shield Maiden, but I wouldn't keep it. Really needs a Taskmaster. Even War Axe is fine, knowing that Chakki plays Knife Juggler.
Yeah. If you get caught with too many slow things in your hand, like if you take Shield Maiden and end up getting like 2 of your big threats, just get so far behind. Thinking about keeping the Knife Juggler or throwing it away?
No, they're not thinking about anything. Every single game, if you've noticed, they
wait till the clock down.
Yeah, exactly. They're running out the clock just to not give away any extra information to the opponent.
It's a formality, in a way. Also shows that they really want this bad. They're just trying not to give their opponent any other information possible. Oh,
Wow. For the companion.
Change. Death Spite.
Would not have expected him to keep that. It's interesting. Oh, geez.
4 of a kind.
Oh, that draw. That War Axe draw just saved Zalae the game. This juggler scientist curve was about to destroy him, to be honest, without that War Axe. But now we have a game on our hands, and Berserker's going to put in a lot of work as well. Looks like he is going to opt for the Juggler.
Yeah, I think the weapon to protect the Frothing Berserker, not to mention keep adding to its damage, is so effective to what this Frothing Berserker can do, and also put pressure because the 4 health is really problematic for Hunter to deal with.
This makes it really tough of a turn for Chakki because he basically is just throwing something out to die.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mad Scientist dying is not the worst thing considering it activates the trap.
And you want to get that out as quick as possible.
Berserker's going to start off as a 3-4. Out of Eaglehorn bow range.
And he knows that it's going to be explosive trap. So if he hits in...
I guess it's not really out of Eaglehorn bow range then.
Yeah.
No.
Well.
He knows that if he makes that attack, then Zalae is just not going to attack back. So Chakki's debating if he wants to set up that kind of board position. He might even attack face with this, but I think he just... Oh, attacking face is fine as well, because then he'd intend to silence the Frothing Berserker to win the race. Yeah, either way, bow seems like the play.
Yeah, getting the extra damage in the bow would be really important too.
For this deck to get an extra charge off a trap is such a big deal, because every point of damage matters so much. It's like drawing an extra card. He's going to go for the most aggressive line of play.
Does this telegraph anything to Zalae, knowing that he just went face with the Eaglehorn bow? Thinking that Frothing Berserker is actually going to get pretty big by attacking in, and that's a lot of damage that the Hunter would have to take to clear that off if he did.
Yeah, the second he makes the attack with that Berserker, though, he's committed to taking, 5 damage a turn off of bows and hero power. I think the better play is to just not attack.
Yeah.
This is what we used to do with Warrior back when Face Hunter was very popular. And it's a very tough decision. I don't know if Zalae was playing Hearthstone back then. This was probably 8 months ago. The situation used to come up all the time. But if he did, he should be comfortable with just not attacking here.
Yeah, it feels tempting because you have a Frothing Berserker that can start building up damage. You can race him. It's like, oh, if I attack now, I'll do 4 damage, and then he has to do another damage. Like, he has to kill that off too. But there's still no rush in a sense.
The nice thing is it would let him Death Bite. So yeah, this is I think this is slightly worse than not attacking, but his hand just really wants to. So this isn't the absolute worst. That Ragnaros puts in a lot of damage as well. Death Bite being active also is going to kill off all the 2/1s in Chakki's deck that he's aware of. So
yeah.
Definitely can't fault him for this play. I think we are going to see Owl, though. You don't want to take
You don't want to take whatever damage that's given based off the Death Bite activation on
like
the Frothing Berserker.
Potential like 11 or 12 damage, depending on what he plays and what Zalae, if Zalae would play any creatures next turn, if he didn't go for the silence. Because the Death Bite activation, the Whirlwind would affect every single creature, so that Frothing Berserker could get pretty huge.
And Lothep would come down, just keep the pressure up.
Yeah. It's a pretty real possibility that he could be at very low health totals following the next turn, with not many real ways to call himself back in.
He's going to opt for the Juggler. So, do you attack the 2/2 or go phase?
Oh,
now
well, the
you go
Whirlwind
phase.
effect off the Death Bite will naturally kill it off anyways.
Right. If he missed that Juggle, I think he might have attacked the Berserker.
Yeah.
Eaglehorn Bow being basically Pyroblast for 3 mana. 9 damage is just insane off of 1 card.
Yeah. And he's still got a couple more pieces of damage too with the Arcane Golem and the Glaive Zuka.
Yeah. Glaive Zuka is just a fantastic card.
Super underrated. Like people,
For sure.
people like play with it a little bit when it first came out, but it's so effective, especially on curve.
I think we are going to see this trade-off and just another attack to the face with Death Bite, followed by Lothep. You just need to keep the pressure up. You need to develop something this turn. That Piloted Shredder draw means that next turn Zalae will be able to keep the pressure up while continuing to armor. Looks like he's going to go for the 4/2 instead. Not as big as Lothep, but I actually think, you know what, this play is better. Because the minion you develop is pretty much as much pressure as the Lothep, but you get an armor and also you keep a Lothep, which Lothep can stop Hunter from killing you and just let you win the race by a turn, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, last game he had an opportunity to play Lothep earlier on, but he opted to play the Sylvanas and armor up. And that actually ended up winning him the game eventually, because if he had played that Lothep a turn earlier, there was no chance for Chakki to win. But since he played it a turn later, I mean, he didn't know this, but it ended up being the best course of play by saving the Lothep till he was in a little bit more danger.
Definitely. I think we're going to continue seeing face attacks from Chakki.
It makes sense considering that he has weapons, another weapon besides his Eaglehorn Bow. So I think he wants to get that in. He's got, let's see, Glaive Zuka's 4 damage, Arcane Golem's 4, it's 2, so it's 10. And he can do 5 this turn, so if he can count backwards from there, he can just start weaving in hero powers.
I like this. Well, I would have hero powered instead of playing 2 minions, but this is fine too, I guess.
This makes it better because if he trades into, if he only played 1 creature and he traded into it, he wouldn't have anything next turn to buff up the Glaive Zuka with to get value off of it on the turn that he played it.
Right. Well, you can like play Worgen and then Glaive Zuka.
That's true.
And it's like, oh, he decided.
Actually, this makes sense given that he wants to get repetitive damage in with minions.
Yeah, Zalae doesn't play a lot of great ways to kill off these little guys, so you know he's gonna have to Shield Slam Piloted Shredder. It's his only line of play. Those 2 ones are gonna do a lot of work,
Especially with the Glaive Zuka behind it.
What now?
This is where it gets really intense. Both players are 2-2.
Right.
Somebody's a game away from being eliminated from the tournament or all the way through to the semifinals.
That's what aggro players live for, let's be real.
Yeah.
It's the rush of like the top of the deck. Like that's the only thing you can do to try to end the game. Warrior barely staying alive.
And this is what control players have nightmares about. Needing like a couple cards.
There's a
in the
lot
late
of
game.
satisfaction in a control player shutting down an aggro player too.
Yeah. Especially Warrior, because a lot of times against Hunter, you get to like low totals of health.
Right.
And then you find one point in the game where you just completely stabilize and just turn the game around. So that's really satisfying as well.
That it's so close.
Wow.
Zalae is putting under so much pressure, but likewise, I mean, it's not like Chakki's sitting on the most life too, so he's got to find a way to stabilize.
Oh,
that
wow.
shield block is so
That's
big.
big.
Well, that's the play.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
He's gonna.
That's
take
why
his
we.
time.
That's why we have you on the couch right now
I
for
try,
those big
man.
analysis.
I want to make sure you don't miss it. You know. I've seen you guys do math. I'm not impressed.
Hey now.
I don't deny your right. I don't deny what you say, but I deny the right for you to say it.
Do you trade with the Worgen? Or just kill off this 2-1? The extra point of life's probably probably more important than the front half of your piloted shredder at this point.
Right. That'd be 9 damage on the other end. Does it matter?
I think that's what Zalae's doing right now is the math and whether that 1 point of life changes what cards kill him or not.
So
Yes.
if he kills off the Abusive Sergeant, there'll still be 5 damage on board plus the 4 from the weapon hero power. If he armors up with the Acolyte.
What now?
It's a 13, so
Well,
4 damage.
I mean, maybe the Loatheb shuts it down too. Like you can't unleash the hounds or kill command.
Yeah, there's also a chance that he might have gotten something beneficial from the Paladin Shredder.
Wolf Rider. That's 12 damage. Chakki's 1 damage off lethal.
Wow.
And there's also an explosive trap waiting on the other end of that secret.
Oh, man. This is intense.
It's now or never. I mean, Zalae needs something big, like
One
Alex
health.
Straza off the top.
Last game, he was 1 damage off lethal as well.
I mean,
That is
there's also
crazy.
explosive trap. I mean, it's pretty much this.
This is the point Warrior has a chance to stabilize.
Still does
This is going to be game if he doesn't.
get Vitality Totem
Well,
or
no, if he
Armor
doesn't
Smith.
draw, yeah. He needs to draw
He can
something.
draw one thing.
Or hit Vitality Totem. Lightwell's beginning a turn, right?
Beginning of the turn.
Right.
So I guess you sack the Pilot Shredder first, right?
Right. Well, no, I think you do Violet Teacher in case there's a taunt. Or you do Acolyte in case it's a taunt. Or sorry. No, it doesn't matter at all because you're the one getting a taunt. Yeah, I have no idea, man.
I think you want to sack it first in case it's Armor Smith.
That's a good point.
Well, I guess you can draw an Armor Smith too.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no.
Zalae's down to like a 1 in 60 chance of winning.
1 in 30, 2 of them you're right.
This Paladin
Taunts.
Shredder.
No!
No way!
And he doesn't have enough to Ragnaros and armor up either.
That's it.
Look at
Has
Chakki's
Wolf
face.
Rider
He's just
done it?
staring, not even blinking at his screen, waiting to see what Zalae is going to break out.
So close yet so far, and it comes down to that 1 extra point or 1 extra mana. It would be nuts if he needed the Ragnaros coin flip, but Zalae, he's got a good run. And Chakki is going to go to the grand finals here at the ESL Season 1 Legendary Series.
Wow. And you see a fist pump coming out from Chakki as well. It's been a grueling day for him. 3 matches so far. He's been playing since early this morning.
What an end to the series. I mean, it looked pretty much like Zalae was almost about to pull it through, but that series was nuts.
Yeah, really close games.
Yeah.
The Hunter deck definitely pulling through. Seems really strong.
It was one of the things where, like, it's just like you said, it was 1 damage both ways, at both games. And it was 1 game a Warrior won, 1 game the Face Hunter won. So really tight contested games overall. Pretty exciting stuff. In the end, we have 1 player who's waiting in the finals. It's from USA, all the way from Indiana. It's Chakki from Team Dignitas. Taking a look at how Zalae went through that series. In the blind pick stage, he went with Warrior twice. Was that his best chances, given if he even knew Chakki was doing Face Hunter?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, unless he expected Chakki to switch to Druid, then I think it was a fine pick. Although, didn't quite pan out. I think it was a pretty safe bet, yeah.
Yeah. You can't really take anything away from Zalae, though. He was one of the most dominating players that we saw yesterday across the regular season as well. He was one of the players that impressed me the most, being invited back for, I think, 3 weeks, making it all the way through the open bracket. So he's definitely a player to watch looking forward, maybe in the Legendary Series Season 2 or in upcoming tournaments as well.
Yeah, well, Jock's the first player in the finals. What do you guys think? Let us know by hashtagging HLS and tweeting at ESL Hearthstone. We're also on Facebook, too, at ESL Hearthstone. You can check that out as well and let us know some of your opinions on what's going on throughout those matches. Really good stuff overall, and we're pretty happy with how things have gone so far. I mean, I kind of wasn't expecting Chakki to be in the grand finals per se, but it's one of those things where it's like it makes a lot of sense given how, just like you said, you think that he has one of the best decks here at the tournament. The Hunter was a really good call based on how he's playing it too. And overall, I think it's good stuff so far.
Yeah, he actually won all the way back in week 1, so that's how he qualified. That was pre-GVG all the way back in the end of November or beginning of December, so that was a long time ago, but making it to the finals, pretty impressive.
The series was brought to you by Newegg Esports. They've been supporting us since the very beginning here at ESL, and we want to give them a big shout out. We have links that has discounts to all kinds of cool products related to the website. Give it a browse. Maybe you'll end up seeing needs to upgrade your website, and of course, or actually your computer, excuse me, and as well, of course, support what we're trying to do with esports. We're done here for the first semifinal. So while we take a few seconds to interview with Anna, who has Chakki, for a couple of words.
Thank you so much, Frodan. And yes, I am sitting here with our first finalist. Congratulations, Chakki. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Went from basically the worst position possible yesterday to now the best possible position. So complete 180, feel great.
Well, congratulations once again. And for those that weren't here earlier today, Chakki mentioned in his media piece that he left school in order to pursue Hearthstone professionally. And what would winning this tournament mean for you?
Winning this tournament would mean a lot to me. I mean, it would be my first really big win. It'd be my first real time showing up at a live event. And I think I could prove people wrong, you know, that everyone, especially after yesterday, really just expected me to fall out for a third time. And now maybe I can just take it all home.
Well, we hope you can take it all home as well. Let's talk about your first two games if we can. So you had a very, very good fortune in your first game when you queued Mage into Hunter, and it just so happened that the Mage propped both your explosive traps. Tell me about what was going on in your head.
Yeah, drawing both explosive traps usually is like never a good thing. It worked out, especially the second one, put him in a really bad spot. I was a little surprised when he procced the first one. I think he expected me to have something like Unleash. So he was played a bit too safe. And the second one, there was really nothing he could do. And the game basically came down to me drawing my Unleash and winning off that.
Now, I mean, you will be going up against the winner of Dark Wonyx versus Silent Storm. What are your predictions, and who do you want to play more?
As far as like strategically who will win, I'm not really sure. I didn't consider their lineups. Been spending all day preparing for my matches, but I want Dark Wonyx to win. He's a good friend of mine, and I also kind of want a rematch against him in the finals.
Well, I can understand that. Do you have any more final words? Anything that you want to say to anybody watching us today?
Yeah, just shout out to all my fans again. Shout out to the Salt Boys Skype chat, and shout out to Team Dignitas for being a great team and sending me here.
Well, thank you very much, Chakki, and who knows, maybe the next time we'll see you, you'll be our finalist. As for everybody watching right now, don't go anywhere. You are currently watching the Hearthstone Legendary Series Finals right here.